Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Collision Vision driven by Auto Body News. As always, I'm your host, Cole Strandberg. It's no secret that from a sales perspective, the last year or two have been very good for those in the collision industry. We have a trend of growing sales and growing backlogs, though the latter is beginning to trend downward. So the focus over the last year or two has really been on operations much more than on marketing. From my perspective, that needs to change. With that in mind, today's guest is Daniel Burkholder, founder of Bodyshop Marketing and former collision operator himself. Daniel focuses exclusively on digital marketing for collision repair. So in today's conversation, we're going to dive into some strategies and tactics to ensure you're doing what it takes to keep that pipeline full. Enjoy the show. Daniel Burkholder, thank you for joining us here on the Collision Vision.
Thank you for having me.
Very excited for a fun, impactful, actionable conversation here today. Let's dive right in. Why is digital marketing important for body shops?
Well, I'm sure, as you're aware, online marketing has really taken a hold over the last number of years. And you and I, as the consumer, we use it probably on a daily basis. And so that is why it is very important for auto body shops to be present, because 76% of people are researching a business online before calling or visiting in person. So as we all know, that has really changed our lives. It's changed our buying habits. And as more and more people rely on the internet for information moving forward, it just becomes more and more critical for local service businesses to have a strong presence there.
Makes total sense. And I want to get into some tactics here, specifically some advice for body shops who might be new to the idea of really investing time and money into digital marketing. But before we do that, I saw a video you posted recently on LinkedIn, which I'm sure content will be a part of our conversation. But in this video, you essentially boiled it down to avoiding customer concentration by avoiding an over-reliance on DRPs or a single specific DRP. From your perspective, I'm interested in this. Why do you think that's important? And what were some of the ways you talked about doing that?
Great question. So I would say probably one of the main reasons it's important to not become reliant on one revenue stream, if you want to call it that, is, as in any business, when you have a high concentration of your revenue coming from one customer or one stream, let's say that starts slowing down, where do you turn to then when that starts drying up? So I would say that's probably one of the most important things, is to keep a lot of different streams open, whether that's maybe multiple DRPs or a combination of DRP and online marketing to bring in customers from off the street. So that's why I feel it's important for shops to maintain a good mix of customer flow, revenue stream.
Totally. Well, and firstly, I thought it was a great video, and I'd encourage all listeners to go ahead and give you a follow on LinkedIn. Definitely educational and insightful. But kind of two things that come to my mind on that specific topic. Number one, being an investment banker and being involved in lower middle market M&A in the automotive aftermarket and collision repair, you hit the nail on the head with customer concentration. And from my perspective, that heavily impacts valuations. When you have one decision maker who could theoretically really hurt a year and hurt a business, that's a major concern, and it negatively impacts how potential investors view the viability and value in a business. The second point that I'd say to that is, it seems like over the last year or two, so many body shops have gotten comfortable with the amount of business and the reliability and consistency of the business that's coming through their door, that maybe they've taken
Mhm.
their foot off the gas a little bit in terms of their marketing and in terms of trying to find those new revenue streams. Any thoughts on that piece at a high level before we move on?
There's definitely a good point there because, as I'm sure any business owner is familiar with, when you have plenty of work, it's not front of mind to keep your marketing moving forward. Like you said, take the foot off the gas a bit because while we're booking out 4 weeks, 2 months, 10 months, why would we be spending any money on marketing? So there's always that temptation, but marketing when you're slow is all the wrong time to be marketing. And we'll probably discuss that more later, but you made a good point
Oh,
there.
definitely. Well, and it's timely. I just got off a call with my mentor, and he talked about, hey, if you take, call it 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, whatever that number is, off of marketing, it's going to triple that down the road in terms of that effect. So if you take 2 years
Mhm.
off of marketing as an example, you're going to feel that whenever that's up for, could be 6 years. It's a bit scary. It's definitely uh, something that needs to stay front of mind to shops
Mhm.
in any business, in my opinion, and from my perspective. To that, kind of moving into some advice for shops, talk to us about the importance of creating a marketing plan and how can you go about doing that?
That's a great point. Very easy to not have a marketing plan. I'm sure as a lot of smaller local service businesses like auto body shops, it's tough to create that marketing plan. And I have a few points that I think will maybe help step you through that. Basically, you have to take inventory of where you're at. So, where are you with your current online presence? I use online presence in a broad sense, in the sense of website, Google business profile, Facebook page, social media. Where is that kind of big umbrella of your online presence at? It might be at 0. It might be at 10. Kind of take stock of where you are, number one, to get started. Determine where you're at, how you're doing, and then you can move into, I think, one of the key ones for auto body shops and collision repair shops is the local search engine optimization, because there are high numbers, and I don't have all the statistics right off the top of my head, but millions of searches going on every day for things like body shop near me or restaurant near me. So that local search of near me is so critical to the auto body and the collision repair industry, because you want to be ranking in those top 3 shops on your Google map pack. And I have a little bit of statistics here off the top of my head. 44% of the clicks go to those 3 shops. So if you are not in that top 3, you're missing out on 44% of the clicks. And the top shop in that map pack, that shop gets about 20% of those clicks, and then it just tapers off. And if you're down at number 10, so that's not even in the Google map pack anymore, you're getting 2% of the clicks. So you can
Mm.
see how it very, very quickly falls off. So local search engine optimization, I would say, if you are interested in creating a marketing plan, is definitely review how you're ranking in your local search and optimize your website, your Google business profile. And there's lots of little tips and tricks that I could give you. I don't know how tactical we should get here. Maybe we'll discuss that further down in the podcast, but I would say that's probably number 2. Number 3 is develop a strategy for your social media presence, whether it's going to be Facebook, Instagram, X. I would say those are probably the 3 main ones to focus on. And from my perspective, social media is a good way to build brand, because most people aren't searching on Facebook when they're looking for an auto body shop or a collision repair center. But it's a good way to connect with your community. It's a great place to share pictures of your facility, of your people, of the even videos of maybe work being done, really creating that transparency around your shop, that you take the people behind the doors, you take them into the shop, you show them what's going on there, you show them your facility. Very powerful in building that brand and that connection. So if they're ever in an accident, or if, let's say, a loved one's in an accident, you're the first shop that comes to mind. This is where I would suggest going with your marketing plan, your marketing strategy. Another good strategy moving forward for your business is to work at collecting Google reviews. This is not the only way to grow your Google business profile, but as we all know, the Google business profile is very key in your online presence, and getting reviews is fairly important. Also, responding to those reviews. Don't let them sit there for days or months. You need to respond in a timely fashion, and respond to the positive ones, respond to the negative ones, because people are watching what you are doing, and it helps them to determine whether or not they're going to visit your shop. So that is you definitely want to have that as part of your marketing plan. And another way you can also use online marketing is using services like Google pay-per-click, maybe even Facebook advertising. If you want to start their phones ringing right now, Google pay-per-click is a fairly good option. So those are kind of the keys that I would give in that point in your question to what can a person that's just starting out in developing an online marketing plan.
No, very helpful. And there are a few in there, and kind of probably want to focus on your top 3 tactics. Let's go a little bit in the weeds for those who might consider doing this on their own and without the help of a marketing or agency partner. And then I'd like to talk afterward a little bit about what that looks like in terms of the process of selecting a partner if you do look at outsourcing that. So want to start with, like, tactically, SEO. We've all heard about it. How do we do it? What's the play there?
SEO is some mystical, magical thing that happens in the background. Just kidding. That was me being satirical.
Hey, I believe it, man.
So search engine optimization, in very simple terms, is getting your shop to rank number 1 in the different Google searches. There's the Google organic desktop search. There's the Google organic mobile search. There's the Google local finder. There's a Google map pack. So there's about 4 different kinds of searches that you want to optimize your business, your shop for, to rank number 1. Now, there is lots of magical, mystical things that go on in the background to make that happen. But getting really into the weeds, if you really want to go here, I've got some just kind of cool things that you can do on your website. Let's just start with your website. Your website is kind of the hub of your online presence. You want to have all your on-page SEO optimized for the Google keyword phrases that people are searching. And for any shop owner that doesn't know what those phrases are, there's 3 main phrases that are getting searched on Google every day for the collision repair industry. It's auto body shop, and collision repair. Those are the 3 phrases that you want to optimize your website for. So on page, you want to include that in your headers and in the body of your website. And Google does give priority to the headers. So header number 1 should definitely include one of those keyword phrases. Now, you don't want to stuff your website with all kinds of keywords, and when you read it, it's difficult for the consumer to read. That's not the point. Google sees that, and they will not rank you very high for that. But if you can include it nicely into the flow of your website, those keyword phrases, that's one little trick or tip for your on-page search engine optimization. And then there's the technical search engine optimization. And that happens kind of on the back side of your website. So if you have access to the back side of your website and you want to tinker around with it, I'm sure there's probably some tools there that you can use, but you want to have things like the alt tags on your photos on your website, have all of those tagged. And of course, you want to be including the main keyword phrases like body shop, auto body shop, collision repair in those, because Google sees all of those. So that's just one little tip for technical search engine optimization. And then there's also off-page search engine optimization. That's what goes on off your website. And this can be places like your Google business profile, Facebook, any type of press release that's going out from your website and being picked up by news agencies. That is off page. And here again, you want to have it optimized for your keywords. I want to touch on just a couple little tricks for the Google business profile, because I think this is really key to success for a lot of auto body shops. I mentioned about collecting Google reviews, so that's one of them. I mentioned replying to Google reviews, that's another one of them. But here's a little thing that you can do when you're replying to Google reviews is actually include the keyword phrases that are getting searched on Google, like auto body shop, collision repair. So craft a nicely written response, and maybe you can even have a canned few that you just copy and paste. For the, of course, those 5-star ones, the 1-star ones, you will probably have to write a specific response to that.
Sure.
But definitely include those keyword phrases in the response. Very tactical, but yet it does send a signal to Google. This is what we want to be ranking for. Another thing you can be doing on your Google business profile is there's a little section, and if my memory serves me correctly, it's called About My Business. You can fill that in with probably about, I think it's about 500 words. And here again, it's good to craft a nice few paragraphs about your business, talking about your business. And once again, you're probably going to guess it, but you want to include your search, you want to include your keyword phrases, because it's sending there again another signal to Google. This is what we want to rank our shop for. And I have one more yet. There is a section where you can do update posts on your Google business profile. A great place to send signals to Google. You can do that as many times a day as you like. I would suggest at least 3 times a week. Have a picture of your facility, of your staff, and you can write a paragraph about the photo. And of course, like I've been saying before, you want to include the keyword phrases in that post. So there's just a few little things that you can do as a shop owner to help in your search engine optimization. So anyways, yeah, those are a few tricks. I don't know, did I answer your question?
Absolutely, man. And all actionable stuff. And I appreciate that. That's something we try to do on the Collision Vision is not only is it insightful, it's actionable. And I think we just listed some really good things that shops can do today to help bring in more business and build a brand.
Yes.
Before moving on from some of the tactics, there are 2 things that I'd love to address shortly. We don't have to go super deep into it, but I know something that folks hear a lot about is Google AdWords. Just kind of what is that, and at a very high level, what's a strategy there? I know there's probably some overlap with SEO and the Google business profiles, but wanted to hear some insights on that if you can.
Absolutely. So I like to think of search engine optimization as playing the long game. Search engine optimization is not going to get your phones ringing today or tomorrow. It is something that's slowly built brick by brick. It's not something it's not like flipping on a switch and you have more calls coming into your shop or more people stopping in to get estimates. The difference then with Google AdWords or Google pay-per-click advertising is you flip the campaign on, and in theory, if the campaign is running correctly, it should start your phones ringing tomorrow, because you're going to be suddenly ranking up above number 1 in the Google Map Pack under the sponsored section. And of course, there's some things around that people don't typically tend to trust that sponsored ad as much as they will trust the organic ones. So there are statistics that ad typically gets far less clicks than the organic one. So I would say search engine optimization is your long game, and pay-per-click can kind of, I think, be kind of that short game to get you up to speed while you build up your search engine optimization. But that being said, it's definitely a good strategy and it works. One thing as a business owner you want to take into consideration again is what keywords are you trying to rank for when people are searching that Google puts your ad in front of. You don't want your ad showing up in, let's say, Atlanta if you are a shop in Houston. So you need to definitely very carefully tell Google exactly what geographical region you want to have your ad displayed in, and also what keywords are being searched that you want your ad displayed for. Also, inside of that, you can put in negative keywords. So let's say you don't want people phoning you or clicking on your ad because they want a cheap bumper repair. So you can put a negative keyword in there like bumper repair, and it will not show your ad to somebody that is searching for bumper repair. Or you could even put in there cheap bumper repair as a negative keyword, and then your ad will not be displayed to that person looking for that cheap bumper repair. So there's some strategies around optimizing that, because obviously we're all looking for that ROI on our marketing dollars. So the more you can fine tune that and dial that thing in, you're going to get better return on your marketing dollars.
Great. Thank you for that. And last thing, speaking of the long game, you mentioned it. Folks aren't going to go on Facebook or Instagram to find a collision repairer when it's time. But how do you recommend shops view kind of that social and content strategy? How can body shops build that brand that becomes front of mind for consumers when the time comes?
So I guess if I sit back and try to put myself into the role of a consumer or a person that's been in an accident or somebody that's just on social media, what really would speak to me, and of course, I have a high interest in auto body shops and collision repair centers, but what really speaks to me is when I see authentic pictures of the repair facilities, of the staff, of the technicians, of things going on. It really gives you that feeling of transparency. They're not trying to do anything behind those doors that isn't legit. They're doing correct repairs. They're not afraid to let people see. So I believe as a shop owner, on social media, you don't want to use stock images. And what I mean by stock images are these images that are on the internet. You can buy them or you can grab them for free. You can load them into your Facebook post and you can write some text. To me, as the consumer, that doesn't look legitimate. But if you see a shop that is taking the time, and you can just grab your smartphone, your iPhone, and you can shoot some really nice pictures and videos with that, load them onto your Facebook, load them onto your Instagram, your Twitter, and just put some, I would say, just some authentic, genuine content along with them is really what speaks to the consumer and builds that brand. If they consistently show up there, I would say 2 to 3 times a week is probably great. If you have the bandwidth to do more, then great. But I know it's tough for shop owners to keep up with all of that. And maybe you have someone on staff that loves to shoot photos and things like that. That's the person that you want to use then to take those photos. Maybe it's a birthday celebration, maybe it's a barbecue, maybe it's a community event that you're involved in. Just always have your mind, or be looking for those opportunities that's like, hey, that would be a good picture to put on our Facebook page, and then use that to build the brand is how I think a shop owner should do it.
I love that. And I've continuously been an advocate for content for listeners of the Collision Vision. And much like how you and I started talking, we built some rapport. Just seeing your content and your videos online felt like I got to know you a little bit even before we technically met. And to be able to generate that feeling of comfort, the feeling of social proof to an example, if you can incorporate that in your social media, I think is very, very effective and has a pretty clear ROI over time. It's not going to generate business for you tomorrow, but good content is never a bad thing. I want to shift gears a little bit and go toward the agency conversation for listeners who say, man, I do need to do all that stuff. I'm not doing it to the best of our ability, but I don't have time. I don't have the resources internally for those types of shops. What should they look for when evaluating a potential agency partner to help them with all that?
Another great question. I would say there's probably lots of correct answers to this. A few that I would think of is a shop really needs to determine what results are they looking for. They need to look at, is it short-term results? Is it long-term results? What are they really wanting to do? So kind of maybe look internally first before you start looking for that marketing agency that can serve your shop. Because if you have your goals defined clearly for your shop, maybe it's you want to grow your shop's revenue by 25% over the next 12 to 24 months. Maybe it's you want to have a better brand visibility in your community over the next 12 months. Start developing what you really want your shop to become before you start looking for that agency. That would probably be my first suggestion. As far as some other things to look for in an agency, one that I think of is, are they a large corporation that you're just going to become another number in the system? A small, locally owned, independently owned auto body shop, you're not going to want to be that number. You are going to want to have that personal connection with your agency. So I would say that would be one suggestion, is look for an agency that you're not just another number. Not saying there's anything wrong with large agencies, but that can tend to happen is where, unfortunately, you get lost kind of in the system of all the action that they've got going on. Another suggestion that I would make is, do they have the tools to get you an ROI on your marketing dollars? So what are they going to be doing? What are the actions they're going to be taking? Let's use search engine optimization as an example. So we can tend to mystify and have this magical thing going on in our heads about search engine optimization. Okay, it is fairly technical, but it is not magical. So do they have the tools to actually perform the different actions and the tasks that need to be done to help rank your shop on Google? And another thing to possibly consider is, do they have experience in the collision repair industry? I think this is a fairly large one, because as we all know, the collision repair industry, the auto body industry, is unique, and it does take some unique strategies on the marketing side of things as well. So that would probably be another consideration that I would suggest for a shop that's looking for a marketing agency.
Fantastic. And I think we can extrapolate a couple of red flags out of there as well, in terms of being the opposite of any of those optimal situations, but any specific red flags as well that come to mind for those who are evaluating potential agency partners there.
I guess a couple things that I would consider if I was a shop owner, a couple red flags that would come up to me is, are they high pressure? Are they really putting a lot of pressure on that I need to make a decision right now? Also, are they looking to force me to sign a 12, 24-month agreement that we are bound to paying X amount of dollars, 12 to 24 months? Not saying that is all wrong, but it's definitely something that you want to consider. And if they are pushing you into a decision, to make a decision very quickly, to me, that would raise a red flag that, hey, let's just step back. Let's think about this. Let's look at our options and then move forward from there. Those would be a couple red flags that I would think of.
Awesome. Daniel, before we start to begin the process of wrapping up our conversations, anything that we did not discuss today or haven't discussed it so far that we need to before we part ways?
I'm sure there's a lot. I am I'm coming up with a bit of a blank, I
Hey, that
guess.
means I did my job. We'll take that all day.
You
No
bet.
worries there. So with that, as you know, we like to end each episode of the Collision Vision with 3 key takeaways, actionable takeaways for Body Shop owner or listeners. What would those takeaways be from our conversation today?
Sure. So, number one, I would say is don't become too reliant on any one revenue stream. And we've discussed that, but don't become too reliant on any one revenue stream. Number two is the future belongs to the shops who dominate online. So don't wait. Today is the day to start that building your domination online. And number three, if your shop is busy, today is the day to start marketing. Don't wait until your shop is slow, because it is too late to start your online marketing. You need to start today, even if you're busy. So those would be the 3 that I would leave.
Awesome. Great stuff. Actionable stuff. Daniel, where can people learn more about your organization, Body Shop Marketing, and where can they get in touch with you?
Absolutely. So our website is bodyshopmarketing.io. So it's just like it sounds, bodyshopmarketing.io. And there's all of our contact information is there. People can reach me at my email. It's Daniel, Daniel, at bodyshopmarketing.io, or they can give us a call at 1-855-667-9648. And let me just repeat that one. It's 1-855-667-9648. So there's a few ways that people can reach us.
Fantastic. And I'll be sure to put all of that into the show notes to make that easy, one click. But Daniel Burkholder, thank you so much for joining us here on the Collision Vision. It was a pleasure.
I enjoy being here. Thank you for having me.
Thanks again to Daniel Burkholder of Body Shop Marketing for joining us on today's show, and frankly, giving us a fantastic lesson on digital marketing specifically for body shops. I thought today's episode offered some uniquely valuable insights and even more uniquely actionable insights, and I hope you take note. To that, I wanted to reiterate Daniel's 3 key takeaways. And those are: number 1, don't become too reliant on any one revenue stream. The more diverse revenue your business can have, the better. That's from my perspective on the M&A side as well. Number 2, the future belongs to the shops who dominate online. We talk all the time on the Collision Vision about the shifting market trends and how, while it's a challenging environment, the opportunities for body shops who invest in the right things can really, really do well for the future. Brand and online social media and online advertising, these are no exception. These are some of the investments we're talking about. And lastly, start marketing today, even if your shop is busy. Keep that pipeline and that backlog full. That's all for today's show. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to give the Collision Vision a like, leave a positive review, and share it with your network wherever you get your podcasts and via YouTube, where the Collision Vision now lives in video form. As always, on behalf of Auto Body News and myself, thank you for coming along for the ride.